Muted indeed. Thank you, Ititsu. I redid my stream deck, and that was went okay. Apparently I forgot to put on unmute again, so that's cool. Uh, where would that be? Audio mixer maybe? Mute unmute audio sources. Oh, that's just Okay, cool. That just crashes Stream Deck. Well, can't change that while I'm streaming apparently. So, we'll just remain with this. This is fine. Everything's fine. Okay, so where are we today? We are in. Oh, we're going into authentication now. I was thinking about this. I don't think I actually have to do naive authentication because we I like we already know how to insert something into the database. So I don't think we have to do anything else with this. Just Asafi. Hello. Woo auth. Yes, authentication is fun. It's one of those things where it's sad that it's so fun because I highly recommend that nobody ever does it themselves. It's for real projects at least. You always like just use a service, like use something else that does it for you. Bcrypt or Argon 2. I'm probably going to use Bcrypt. It's what seems to be the most popular, especially in like the Node.js world. Friends don't let friends write their own auth. That's exactly it. That is exactly it. So, okay, what do we have here? So, naive, we don't want naive auth. I don't think I need to do naive authentication. Um, what I don't know is if everybody really understands how authentication really works. Because unless you rewrite it in Rust, no, don't even do that. We're going to screw that up too. Um, I don't think it's going to be quite this bad. Okay, maybe instead of naive authentication, it's more of like maybe just like how auth works, where you send in a uh maybe I just want like a whiteboard essentially for this. Okay, so a we send in a username password, we get a token back, and then we use that token in the future, the jot essentially. Oh, thank you, Justosophy. Uh, we send in a token um, with a header for every protected route. So we need to guard for that on the specific routes that we want protected, and everything else we don't care about it. And then we do things if the token is okay that we let them through, and if not, so because like where I've run into in the past is potential students, even if they like know programming really well, if you've never really thought about auth just feels scary, like a monster. When in reality, it's solving what was that? What was the philosophical thing? It's like the two kings problem, or is it three kings? I think it's the two kings problem, right? I've always like felt like it's the entire thing that you see in the in older fantasy movies where it's like, okay, you're gonna go talk to this king, I'm dying, or like I can't go myself, here, have my signet ring, it's only mine, therefore uh it's proof that you are actually carrying my message and nobody else. That's sort of like the metaphor I usually use. Okay. Um, if I was to do this, then I'm probably gonna want let's open up Firefox. Just don't cram too much into my jot. I don't usually put very much into my jot, just like a user ID, because like you don't really need much in a jot. Uh, I guess like in my mind, a jot is not a replacement for going to the database. We still need to go to the database to verify like the user, verify these other things. So I like to just put the user ID into the database, and then and pretty much is that. Okay, so I have okay. Let's go to Vision. Let's sign into Envision. Okay, let me come over here. Ooh, new stuff. Do you have dark mode yet? No. Dark mode would be amazing, but no, not yet. They have color swatches. Zoom. No. Okay, so there's no dark mode. So I'm gonna go back to all my documents. I'm gonna create a blank freehand. All right. We could just make this smaller. We'll just go like this. Okay, so this is gonna be auth. All right. So my thoughts on this. Uh, if like the entire purpose of authentication is to verify that a user of our app is who they say they are. That's it. Like that's it's a simple problem statement with a not so simple implementation for that. And we are going to be doing the bare minimum of this, but it's highly recommended that we use a real authentication system because they kind of are thinking about that. That's their job is like to constantly improve that setup. And we don't want to have to deal with that. But sometimes for personal sites, we need to. And sometimes our bosses do not listen to us and say, you know what, you're doing this anyways. Do it. Okay, I can. You know what? I can make this dark. Can I not make you dark mode? Did I turn you off? Oh, there we go. Okay, so I want maybe make you like orange. That should be pretty visible. Okay, so the idea is, and I would need to draw this to be uh, good and not. Let's say we have two mountains, something like that. We have an army. We have an army here. So we have a bunch of tents, a little fireplace, some smoke coming up. We have one king, and we have the other king. Should I draw a horse? This is terrible. This is stick horse. Yeah. The no, we're not gonna draw a horse. That's this is bad enough. This is bad enough. Um. Okay, so army out back with his like nice little house wants to send a message to the general at the front lines to say, hey, I want you to like go off into the secret area and take it. So he sends a messenger. With a special message. But the enemy army is like there's an unknown number of people in between, right? Like we might have enemies in here, and they are constantly coming up to the general and saying, "Hey, we want to, the king. Your king says that we should do this. Your king says that we should do this. So how do we trust this one?" Well, previously, while they were all together and verifying things, uh, the the king gave the king and the general promised that they would always send a specific thing with this messenger, and that thing is going to be our jot. But back here, it might take place as like a ring, right? It's a special signet ring. Apparently, it's a diamond ring, but that's fine. It's a diamond ring. And so then he comes over and says, "Hey, here's my ring. You can trust me now." General says, "Okay, I can trust you. Here's a message back to our back to the palace." Okay, I think that's a general idea. And then our general goes and does stuff. So in this case, our general is the front is the our general is the back end, and the king is the front end. And then there's a lot of implementation details, like we want to hash the password, because we can actually do this and follow the flow of this without hashing the password. So maybe I do want to do a general how auth works without hashing a password, to make it like the to just do it in general. So what would that end up looking like? We need a create account route where that's our general and the um, king together, and they say, "Here, I am proving that I'm me. I've just been created, and here's a little bit of information about me that only I know." That would be the username and a password combination together. So I guess in that case, if I'm gonna use the metaphor exactly as it is, I'm not gonna use a physical token, because that's closer to two-factor auth these days. So maybe the general then sends back to the king like a request. I need more people over in this specific spot. And so he sends a messenger, but he tells the messenger, "This is my username and this is my password. This is my passphrase." It's something that only the general would know. Ignore the fact that this person now knows that. It sort of breaks the immersion. Uh, then comes back to the king. Okay, so then the king's the back end now at this point, which kind of makes sense because we want the thing with the house to be the back end. And says, "Okay, we're going there, so we want." So there's several different steps to this. This is so creating the account. We want to log in, log out. And then like use a I guess like verify. So create account, initialize the sort of like thing. I'm heading off to war, so therefore Here is my username and password. Here's my passphrase. Log out. Hey, I'm back from the campaign. Go ahead and ignore everything because I'm back. I'm not out. Logging in. Hey, I'm heading out again. I'm going to use the exact same stuff that I did last time. And verify. Hey, I'm out in a field and I need resources sent to this secret location. Here's my token to verify that it's really me. Send it to this location. Probably should also mention that when we're communicating over HTTPS, all of the traffic in response is encrypted, and there might be some like questions. Hey, if all the traffic is encrypted, why do we need to hash the password? So maybe that'll be like, we're gonna do this. Maybe first is like, hey, let's just do this. It'll be plain text, username, password. We won't even use a jot. We'll just like create a token for you. Like I'll literally just create a hello world token that's always hello world. And then we replace those to make it more secure. Something that I need to double check is what do we have in our database? Okay, yeah. So I'm storing the jot. I'm storing the jot in here. I'm a big fan of storing the jot and then actually comparing the jots back and forth. I want to know that they sent it exactly to me and that it's not changed in any way whatsoever. Because then if they send me a good jot but the token doesn't exist because I have deleted it, then I will I will not trust it. Like it doesn't matter. Okay, but we can then use this token with like we'll just do like hello world or I could create a UUID, but that feels too close to somebody actually doing that. Okay, I think that's good. We chose 64 characters here because the hash, the bcrypt hash that we're going to use is only 64 characters. Is how much it maximum it can store, or that it generates. I think we'll have to double check and find those. Okay, so should like the story be in two parts where I tell the story, and we do auth, or do we just do auth first and I tell the story as we're going through it and doing it? Maybe, maybe. This might be a very okay. This is gonna be super long if I do these all as individual, like as one lesson altogether. So maybe I want to create the account. Okay, so it's just more practice. It's simple. The latter. I've already forgotten what I said. Unfortunately, sorry, I said two. That was like 5 seconds ago. Why would I remember something like that? I think it's uh do I want to because I did both of them of the options and then I forgot which ones was which. What came first? I think we're gonna do one video each. So I'll do a video for creating the account and we'll talk about like we'll build the story up while we go through this. I think that'll work. So I'll erase all of you. And we'll draw that space. And I have green, that's fine. Where do jots come in? So jots would come in. So this is basic like how auth works, how naive auth works. So we're not going to do any of this special stuff. We're just going to do this to understand and wrap our heads around the general idea, and then we're going to make it secure. So maybe if I do, okay, so authentication, how auth works, and then we come back to here and make it secure. So that's going to be, we hash the password, we use a jot. So use a jot. We guard the route. Oh, that would probably be part of the jot then. So we move the guard to middleware. And I guess like guard route and then use middleware. Okay, so then secure the protected routes. So that's that. That is that. This is how it would be then. Our naive route is going to be this, where, hey, let's create an account, username, password, plain text, and all that stuff. Don't worry, we're going to hash it later. We're just going to go over this to sort of show off how it works. With hashing the password and using a jot being separate to now make it more secure later. Okay. I do feel that how auth works, like real authentication, could probably be a course all on its own. Like maybe a micro course, maybe not a full course, but like a micro course that just you could go through it in like 2 days, but like that's 2 days worth of content. Because there's a lot more to it than this, like especially if we go into auth, and we also want to use like introduce like auth 0, why do you use something like auth 0 or Okta or see, Google has Firebase, AWS has that one, which a lot of people use, but everybody that I've ever heard from hates. Like that they don't like it, but they still use it. There's some open source ones too that I've heard of that are pretty good. But okay, this is gonna be what we're gonna do. We'll do one video per ones of these. So hey, we're gonna create an account. Right now, it's gonna be we're gonna set a. So I guess like introduction and create an account. I don't know. I think that's gonna work. And then we'll do a Thunder client for logging in. What that really means. I guess we could just use. I may not need the drawing for it. We'll just I'll just go through it very slowly with this. If I get a lot of people just sort of asking me like, well, how does that work? Like what's really going on? Or if it's still confusing, then I could create like an addendum video to throw in here somewhere. But we'll do a new request inside of this collection. Okay. So let's add in routes and data. So let's I feel like I should do this. I don't know where I want to do this. Do I want to create like a new one? Like we have routes data and now we're going to do security. I feel like I doing them separately was not the best idea. I think we're just going to stay in data now. Because we already have the database set up in there. We're just going to stay inside of there. So in data, we'll do a new request for creating an account. And then that will be it. Okay. So let's do this. All right. I think I have this set up for recording. Let's verify. Oh, cool. I click the start recording button on Stream Deck and nothing happens. No recording happens. Probably because my Stream Deck software is completely frozen and not responding. So that's cool. Close program. Okay, let's relaunch you and see, can I now do it? No. Cool. Very nice. Oh, you're frozen again. Instantaneously frozen. Very nice. Okay, well, we're still using the we are still going to be using the whatever is it called, keyboard for this. Okay. All right. Well, let's just do this and see how it feels. And we'll go from there. So, how auth works: creating an account. Now that we've created routes, we've stored stuff into database, we've gotten stuff out, let's do something that sort of combines together routing and data. Something that's really important to a lot of different applications. Authentication. Because oftentimes when we create an API, we don't want just anybody to use the API. We want specific people to use it. Or maybe more appropriately, we want anybody to use it, but we want to make sure that the people using it are only getting data that they put into the database in our behalf. So we're going to be going very slowly, step by step through auth, because I know that it's very overwhelming to a lot of people. It can sort of feel really confusing. We're going to try to sort of make it really simple. So a basic flow. And we're going to start this with the most basic approach first, and then we're going to do a second pass over it and secure it. So as a quick introduction, we're going to do our create account first. Then we'll handle login. We'll be able to do a logout, and we'll guard the routes that we want to guard, and then eventually move that into middleware. You also notice that we're not going to use hash passwords to begin with, and then we're going to refactor to use hash passwords afterwards to ensure that we understand how things are happening and what the hash is specifically doing for us. So let's dive into it. Step one, we want to create an account. So this is when a user first comes to our user API, we want to establish a relationship with them, so we know if they come back exactly who they are, or rather that they're still who they say they are, because we don't really care that much about who they are. So let's create a route in data here. So we're going to call this create account. So this is creating something new in the database. So I'm going to do this as a post. We're going to go to HTTP localhost port 3000, and I want maybe users. So this is going to create the new user. Obviously, this doesn't do anything. In our body, we're going to send two things really. We want a username. Now, you can control what this is going to be. In this case, we're just going to do a simple string. Sometimes you might want the username to be an email address. I'll just do this as Brookzerker, and then we want a password. So we can like, I'll show you where we can set up any validation to make sure it's exactly what we expect it to be. I'm going to just say, you know what, that's good enough for us, for just showing off what this is right now. Okay, let's with the same send, we get an error, connection refused, probably because I forgot to start the server. Let's go ahead and get that started. So I need to first start our database. We're going to do a docker compose up and tell it to wait. This usually is pretty fast starting up if you've already run this before. And there we go. And then in data, I'm going to do a cargo watch x run. Okay, and that's running. Now we get our 404 not found. Excellent. Okay. So let's go ahead and set up a /users here. So in data, we're going to have a routes. I'm going to call this maybe like create user. Maybe we'll do like I'm not sure if we want to do all the user stuff together in one thing or if I just want like different ones. We have a create user. We're going to have like some validate and other stuff. Let's do create user. For us to mimic what we had before. And in mod, we will mod this. There we go. We're going to have a pub async function create user. Don't need to paste there, just save. And okay, let's go ahead and use this down here. So far, everything's exactly the same as just like a normal route. And that's kind of what it is. So we have a route. This is going to be to /users. And we're going to post. I don't want you. There you go. Okay, I want to post. This is going to be create user, and I want to use create user, create user. Okay. Back to here again. Now, if we're going to take something in, we know we have to create that as a struct, right? So we have a pub struct. This is the request user. We know that this is going to have to derive deserialize. We're going to have a username, which is going to be a string. It's absolutely required. And we have a password, which is also absolutely required. So you're going to be a string. Okay, we're going to take in the request user. So this is going to be JSON. So this is the request user, and your type is JSON request user. Okay, excellent so far. We're probably going to want to return a result because we're going to put this stuff into a database. So let's return a result. Now, we are going to want to return like a response user, like a special response user. So let's go ahead and create that right here. So we have a pub struct response. Is it response with a, oh, suddenly my brain, you ever looked at words and like, is that right or wrong? Response user. My brain is now not sure if I need a C there or not. I don't think I do. But I guess like into response. I'll find that later. Okay, or it'll be a horrible spelling mistake, and I'm sorry. Okay, so we want to derive serialize. Okay, we're gonna have, well, we care about the username in here. So username is gonna be a string. We are not going to send the password back. So do not send the password back to the user on the front end. That's a security problem. We don't want to, like, once we take that in, we're going to put it into that database and sort of like throw it away. And it's only going to stay in the database, and that's going to be it. Okay, so I don't need to send that back, but I probably do need to send an ID of an I32. I want them to know what ID this user is. And that's it for right now. Okay, so your response is going to be a JSON response user. And then in here, we could just do a status code in case things fail. Okay, let's do a to-do really quickly so it doesn't yell at us. All right, so we take in our request users. That's that username and a password. And for right now, let's just store this directly into the database, which means we need a entity for an active user. So we're going to do a let. This is going to be, I guess, our new user equals, this is users, active model, struct fields. Okay, so ID, we want this to become the default, so I don't need you. We'll do default for that. For token, we're not going to worry about this right this second. We're going to come back and sort of update these with the rest of this information. Deleted that. We're not deleting them right away. We just want to store in this username and the password. Okay, username. Well, we're just going to put this straight in here, right? So request user dot username password. Let's, for right now, we're going to just put in the plain text password into the database. This is a terrible idea long term, but we're going to come back to it, I promise. Request user dot password. Okay, so mismatch types. Oh, we need to do this as a set. So do a set. And import you. There you go. Okay, so it makes you happy. We now have our new user. We want to save this into the database. So new user dot save. We need our database itself. So that's going to be an extension. Database. This is going to be extension of a database connection. Okay, so a reference to our database now. All right, so we save it. Now, after we save it, we're going to get back a, I think we have to await. Then we have this on result. So let's map error. So if we get an error, we know it's something to do with like not handling the database correctly. So let's just return a status code internal server error. And then we can question mark you. And if everything goes right, now we have this new user active model. So let's do new DB user equals active model. Okay. So then we're going to return with the actual new user. So I want to return with okay. And this is going to be a response user. And here we're going to have username is going to be the DB user dot username. And our ID is going to be the DB user dot ID. And that's all we really care about here. Don't want a semicolon there, and we remove our to-do. Mismatched types expected a string, found an active value string. Okay, so we want to extract you out. So let's do can we do an into? Or can I, what exactly are you? So DB user is an active model. Try wrapping. Oh, right. I need response user. I need JSON. That. Okay, so that's good there. Username, mismatch types, expected struct, string, found, this active value entire thingy. I want to username is gonna be db user dot. Okay, so if I do active value, that gives me this. Can I like get? What do we got off of here? We can clone. That gives me this. We have as ref. Can clone you. I don't know if it implements dref. We can take you. Let's try clone you to see. No, that's still giving us an active value. Um. Okay. Let's. Yeah. Canceling the recording. I totally forgot how to get stuff out of the active value after creating it. I could map this, but what did I do? How do I get that out? Why is this? So I'm gonna have to redo that recording again. But I feel like I wasn't necessarily describing things correctly anyway. So all right, so active. What am I doing wrong? How do I get this thing? Is there like a get? Select that. Okay, so we got that. I thought there was a getter for this. DB user dot. This is an active value. Stuff is active value. Yeah, that just gets me a active value. So that's fine. So I want you, and then I want to into wrap value, but that's still active value. Option value into value. Oh, that's what I wanted. Okay, into value unwrap. Expected struct string found C or M or value. What? Okay. Why am I having so much trouble finding this? Oh, and you know what this is, don't you? Because this is an active value string, right? Yeah, it knows that it's an active value string. Okay, so we're gonna have to go into the. Wait, can I just unwrap it? Oh, I just unwrap it. Okay? So they implemented unwrap. Okay, so I actually want to see. Can I go to active value? How do they implement this? Do they manually put unwrap in here? Okay, so here's save. It gives me result, do me error. Okay. So we do into okay, they turn it into an active model. Is there an unwrap? Look at that. Okay, so they manually implement unwrap here. I feel that we're gonna need to show this off. So let's I think we did an entire lesson on opening up the local doc. So I'll just open this up early ahead of time. So we'll do cargo doc open. Okay. All right, so here's this. We want to go to CORM. Can I search for active model? I can. Okay, so we have this into active model. Active model trait. Oh, okay, so that turns it into active model trait. Is this where we find unwrap? No. Okay. It's an active value. Here's unwrap. Here's where we find it. Okay. Get an owned value of the active value. That's what we want to do. We can take it to get the mutable value, but but it also sets it to not set. That's not what we want to do. Okay. So we want to unwrap this, which will probably crash if it doesn't exist, but we know it exists. Okay, so don't need you. I think you might be right, Isitsu. We might want to create the token for this right here too. So when I'm talking about this, it's like, okay, we're gonna take in a username and password, but we're gonna return a username and ID, and we need some way for them to let us know that they're who they are the next time they call us, which is going to take the form of a token. Okay. So let's go ahead and delete you. We're gonna start over again with this. All right, you know what I can do? Create an account. I want to keep the README and remove the mod. Discard you. Thunder client. I want to delete you. Okay. Let's try this again. And I think we're good to go. Oh, I want to reset. Interesting. How do I go back to? Okay, just that. This is where we start. With you. Okay. All right. Now I want to delete the old recording. Because you're down there. You are. Go away. Back to here. Okay. Let's try this again. Take two. We've now created an API. We have routes for our users to hit and do whatever they want to do with it. We have data, so they can store data back and get it back again. But therein lies now a new problem. What if we want somebody, especially with a to-do app like it seems that we've been writing, what if we want somebody to write a task and then when they get the task, they only get their task. They don't get somebody else's task. Or maybe more importantly, that they can't mark somebody else's tasks as completed or delete them or update them. They can only get and manage their own stuff. And in that case, we need authentication. Now, there's a lot to say about authentication. We're going to do a very brief introduction to it in case you're not familiar with it or feel overwhelmed by the entire idea. But I want to preface this with a caveat that if you're writing this for a business, if this is especially something where money is going to change hands for it, I do highly recommend using a third-party system like, for example, Auth0. But we're going to go into this just sort of like to understand how authentication works and how you can create it on your own if you really, really need to. We're also going to begin by using a very naive approach here in how auth works, and then we're going to do a second pass on it and hash the password and use a jot instead of a quote unquote random string that we're going to use for our token, and then make it much better. So we're going to start with creating the account. This is when a user first comes to our application. We want to know who they are and establish a relationship with them. And in that case, that means them giving us their username and their password. And then we know that if they come back later and give us that same username and password combination, they must be the same person. So let's create a route to sort of do that. We're going to create a new request. This is going to be create account. This is creating something in the database, so it's going to be a post. We're going to go to http localhost port 3000 users. In the body, we're going to take in a username. In this case, let's just do this as Brooks. And password. And I'm not going to put any password requirements on this. That's sort of out of scope of this, but you can imagine where when we create the account, we could say, oh, it must be a minimum of X characters or something like that. Okay, so password 1234. Sure, why not? This user is foolish and really wants to just use a simple password. Obviously, not working yet. Our server is running, but we don't have this route. Let's fix that. This is going to be very similar to everything else we've done. In data, we're going to create a new route for create user. And in mod, we're going to mod create user. We're going to have a pub async function create user. And we're going to use that. So use create user, and we'll create a route for this too. So route users post create user. Okay, so far so good. Now, what do we want to take in? We know we want to take in that request user. So we're going to have a pub struct request user. This is going to have the, it's going to derive deserialized. And we're going to have the username, which is a string, and a password, which is a string. And we're going to take that in. So we're going to have a JSON. This is a request user. JSON request user. We also need the database itself. So we have the extension. Database is extension database connection. Okay. We know we're going to want to return a result with something coming back. So what exactly do we need to come back? Let's think about that. So we want to have a pub struct response user. Well, we probably want to pass back the username so they can see that, like, hey, they have like the information about the user that they want to have. So we could have username. You're a string. They probably want to know what their ID is so they can do updates to it. So they, update to users /5 or so. Okay, so ID is 932. That's good. I am not going to put a password in there. I do not want to show off the same password that they sent to us, because that's a pretty big security violation. We want to minimize the amount of time that password is on the network being passed back and forth. But instead, we can send back something else representing the password. Something that if the user passes it to us with any request, we'll know, oh, this is them. Or at least this is them attempting to be, well, them. I'm going to call this a token. And this is going to be a string, and it is required. So we're going to derive. This is going to be serialize. Okay. All right. So we are going to respond with a result. JSON of a response user or a status code. All right, we'll throw a to-do in here at the bottom. All right, first things first, we need to actually just create the user, right? So we need, we're gonna use the active model. So we're gonna do tasks, active model. So we're gonna create this here, fill the struct fields, semicolon this, just so we can get this all nice in one line. Okay, we're not going to create it with an ID. So we're not going to have that. And let me come down to the bottom and do our default thing. Priority. I am going to leave that as what the, oh wait, task priority. No, I don't want tasks. I did the wrong one. Users. Active model. You fill your structs. There we go. That's a little bit nicer. Okay, so instead of ID, I want this to be default. Username, we are going to definitely set use. So this is going to be a set. Import set as the request user dot username. Password, you're also going to be a set request user dot password. Now, for those of you who know security, you're probably screaming at the screen saying, no, don't do it. This is what we call plain text user passwords in the database. And this is a big no-no in the security world. And that's because it's generally, you just have to generally assume somebody's going to gain access to your database eventually and just get access to all your users' passwords. We're going to start with this sort of bad practice just to understand it, not add too much complexity all at once. We're going to come back in a future video and change this from plain text to a hashed password, where then it's very hard for people to get into. But we'll get into that more later. All right, delete that. We're not delete that. That can be default and plain. Token. So normally we would create like a special type of token that we can verify later. That's going to be in a different video. So for right now, just sort of like to show off what type of token we want this to be normally random, but I'm also a little bit lazy and we know we're going to be changing this later. So I'm going to use totally random token. We're going to own this. And you are a token is a, oh, the token is an option string. This needs to be a sum. Like that. Okay. Okay, so we create you, and then I want to save. Pass in a reference to the database. We want to await. We then want to map error. So if we do get the error, we want to just return a status code, internal server error. Then we want to question mark you. And if this all works, we're going to get a new user out of here. All right, so our new user is an active model of users. And we've actually got it. If it's gotten through this point, we actually have our new user, which means we can now take this and then build our response object. So this is, how do we want to actually create this? I could just pull this out right here as part of the OK. So OK, we're going to have JSON, and then inside of here, we're going to have a response user. All right. And we have our username, ID, and token. Okay, well, our username is a little bit upset about right now because we don't have it. Well, let's fix that. So we want this to be a string. So we have our new user. So new user dot username, right? Simple. Except we have a problem. We have mismatched types here. If I hover over this, we expected a string, okay, but we get this active value. So we have an active model, and then each sort of like item in here is an active value type, and then the actual value is contained in it. We can actually see that here because we have an active value string. So we need to sort of like extract out what this is. Now in CORM, there's something called a unwrap that we can use. Now this is not the exact same unwrap that you can use on an option, but it is a manual method that's been added to the active value struct that allows us to take is the wrong word because there actually is a method called take here. It allows us to just, well, extract out what this value is, and then it crashes if it's not there. But we know it's there because we just created it. So I feel pretty safe doing a unwrap. So unwrap, and now username is happy. Let's do the same for these. So we have a new user, ID, unwrap. Token, same exact thing. So new user, token, unwrap. Mismatch. Oh, and this needs to be, see, it's an option. So we want to unwrap, unwrap. So it's two unwraps here because we unwrap first to get the value out of the token, but then that was already an option string. So now we have an option string in here. We just unwrap it again. I could also mark you as an option in this case. We're not going to do right now. Okay, so back to create account. If I now send this, we get back username Brooks ID 2. I apparently already had a user in the database, and here is this totally random, not going to be the same for everybody token in here. So in the next videos, we're going to be going over how to use this token to potentially how to log in, how we can do logout, and how we can guard routes to use that token. So I'm going to mark this as done. Hopefully this is helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye. Okay, I don't actually have time today to go over the next one. Kukma, hello. Question about error handling. You want to store a file, line, column info in the error struct, but to get right location, I need to explicitly init error, so you cannot use question mark operator or from implementation using it to generate source or GitHub repo links. Wait. You need. Okay, so is this in Axum or is this in a different context? I would assume this is in Axum, right? Different context. Okay, so all right, so you want to store file, line, column info in the error struct, but to get the right location, you need to manually init error. So you're talking about location. You're talking about the line number, where things happen, right? So hold on. Let me save this really quickly and rename this file before I forget. Yep. Okay. Excellent. So I want to do this. This was creating account. Okay. So let's close you and open up my playground. All right, so what do I have? What do I have in here? I have UDEC stuff. I have Axum. Okay, let's ignore this. Let's create a brand new thing in here. We'll go playground. We'll do a cargo new plane with errors. And let's add you in here. Plane with errors. Okay, so let's say I want like a very specific error here. We'll create a lib.rs file, and I'm going to create a we have our errors. I'll call these like custom errors, maybe custom error. So my favorite thing to do when creating an error that handles all of this stuff is to use something called this error. I actually also really like crates. I also really like error like this. This crate is great. It's built for displaying the errors out to the displaying the errors, and also makes it a little bit nicer to use errors. Although it's not necessarily all that useful beyond that, but it's still really nice. It talks about in here how to create your own error, in which you use, go down, find it, this error. So we're going to pull in this error, which allows us to create our own special errors. You actually used this error, but seems like for it's kind of useless. It's, I think, well, okay, so it can be. It can be if you want to do a custom error, but if you don't want to do a custom error, then you don't need to do that at all. So let's delete you. Let's say we have a public run function. So we have a pub, we have run. It doesn't do anything, and then we're gonna have another function. So pub, always errors. So no matter what you do to this, it always just throws an error. So we're gonna return. I'm gonna use this error for this. I'm gonna do a cargo add. Sorry, not this error. I'm gonna use error for this. Oh, I have to cd into plane with errors. Throw in error. I'm gonna return result. Do I have to run this first? So hold on. Let's go to our main function here, and I want to run. Tell Rust Analyzer about it. Rust Analyzer always has a little rough time when I first start. That's what it feels like, at least. Okay, so if I run, pull it in, please. No, maybe. So I want to use plane with errors, run. You're upset. Oh, pub function run. Pub function always errors. There we go. Okay, now we're happy. So I want to return, now that I've installed error, I want to return a result, but I want to use the error result. So this only has like a specific type, so we return nothing. And in this case, error has a macro called bail. So I can bail the macro and just say like, hey, I am erroring. Now, I don't know if this is exactly what you want. Because you want to explicitly init the error. because if you do this, you can still use question mark then to create that. Because if I run this here, so let's do this appropriately. So I'm going to return a result, the same result, like that. We're going to call always errors, question mark u, that. We're going to go back to main. You're not handling this error, so we're going to do a match, run, fill the match arms. I don't care about the OK. It's never going to do anything. But with the error, we're going to get the error. And I'm going to, so we get this report out. So I can now debug the report. Right, and I want to it's trying to debug tries to return something. I don't want that to happen. So I want semicolon u. Unused error report that must be used. Really? Okay. Well, it's just an error. I don't really care about it. I just want to display this out to sort of see it. I could do an ePrint line too. But okay, so if I do a cargo run. So here I get, so main RS7, I am airing. Oh, I need to do a ePrint line. There's a way to do this to get exactly what I want out of it. There we are. Okay, so now I am airing location source library line 9. So now I can see, okay, that's coming from the library. Line 9 is where I bailed. Now, what else do we need with this? What we're trying to do is what we're trying to write is to something like my custom error in my project source function 2 in my project source function 1 in one console message. So I haven't done it, but in error, you can customize the message. That's the entire point of error, is to be able to do something like that. Where exactly is this? That does sound like a backtrace. Do you want more, like a bigger backtrace? Is that what you're asking for also, Kukma? It's like recursive get error source logic. Oh, okay. Hold on. I may have misunderstood. Let's do. Okay, I'm gonna actually, instead of handling this error properly, let's not question mark you. So you're going to bail, and I'm going to unwrap. So now if I run you, it actually crashes. And notice here we can set this environment variable rust backtrace equals 1. So I'm going to do an export rust backtrace equals 1. We're going to run the exact same thing again. And now we see, okay, location, library line 5, column 5 is where our bail started. Begin the backtrace. Okay, so begin unwind. So it's panicking. In panicking RS, line 584. Here's this result, and then finally, here's our run. So library, line 4, we call this at main line 4. So it's sort of a little bit backwards. So we start here. So they did a call once on our main function, and then our main function ran and it had a problem here on line 4. Is it just panic or just error inits? I believe that's anything that causes a crash. Anything that causes a full crash, it's going to have this this full stack, this full backtrace. And then I want to say that error has access to that too, because you could do a color backtrace. Backtrace has just been stabilized and creates like anyhow have a backtrace feature. Like this is a color backtrace, color error. Can I? If using the nightly channel, backtrace is captured and printed with the error. If the underlying error type, they must be enabled through the environment variables described in standard backtrace. So if we go to standard backtrace, so we have to enable that. Anyhow, cannot give you a possibility to match error kinds, right? I believe that. Well, I mean, yes and no. So if you have very specifically different types of errors, it's highly recommended to create custom errors, like using this error. We're creating like a custom error based upon each type, and then you can match on that. So you can match off of the enum to say, oh, it was a disconnect, or it was a redaction, or invalid header, or whatever you feel like. So that's what you would do. You can technically ask it for an error, and it will downcast if it exists. You don't use anyhow. Instead, you use explicit, like the normal errors, like the errors you get from Rust. And this is where like the biggest sort of like problem with Rust is that they leave this up to libraries, and you get like there's so many different errors, and they're not compatible with each other because of the strong type system. And so it's both good and bad in my opinion. So either you can convert it all together for yourself or downcast it. You want backtraces, but using your own error type. Oh, yeah, I'm interested too, Kukma, if that's what you're asking for. Because I want to say there's still a possibility of getting a backtrace through a custom error. A backtrace in one message. And when you say one message, do you mean like not multiple lines like we see here, but like customized to be like a single line? No, one trace or print line. Okay. So then you can control it and sort of paste it wherever you want. And so I believe you can do that with, like, for example, with air. You can get, I believe you can get the backtrace. I don't know if you can get it on standard or if you have to be on nightly. Let me see here. So if we do, let's see. So I got question mark you back again. let's go back to main. Here we have our air. Can I do I want like a backtrace. Yeah, I don't have like a backtrace available here. So we have the handler, so the air handler. Root cause. We could downcast. Let's try root cause. See what that is. Root cause is the I am erring. So that would literally be this right here. Okay, so it's not root cause. Backtrace. I don't think they have a capture here. I think I have to switch to nightly, and I would have to enable it. The difficulty is to make it automatic. What do you mean, automatic? Are you saying like you don't want to like oh, it's now unstable in standard. Ooh, I don't know if their code enables that. In every function, what can throw an error? And I think we have different types of errors that we have to really keep in mind, because we have errors that can throw crash and errors that can like not throw. And I think it comes down to like Rust being very, very, very different with how it handles errors. It's not like the other languages. So basically, do you want to be able to handle errors without using question mark, without using unwrap, or any of the other like OKORs or something like that, without any like the normal, without a result? Basically, you want to be able to handle errors but not use results. Is that what I'm hearing? You already built it. You think your impulse sucks and it's bad. I mean, I don't know. Like I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I kind of like the result system, but it might just be me having mentally given up and into the rest system, and so like that's not necessarily me liking it, and more of me just accepting it. Um, yeah, that would be great. I am gonna have to. I'm pretty late for switching to work. Can you send it on in Discord? So I have a link to my Discord here. Um, if you send it in there, then we can take a look at it, and maybe tomorrow at the stream I can we can play around with it and take a look at it. All right. Thank you, Kukma. For everybody else, thank you for hanging out today. We got one recording done, so I'm happy about that. Tomorrow, I think, Kukma, if you send that to us, we'll take a look through air stuff and we'll just play around with that. And if we get done early, we'll do another recording. Otherwise, we'll just sort of play it by ear. What channel? I don't know, just general channel. This isn't necessarily course help, so we only have like a couple channels. So general is probably fine for this. Okay, with that, thank you again. It'll probably take me a little while to respond, Kukma, because I do have work. Like right now, I have a meeting coming up very shortly. But then sometime during the day, or maybe this evening, I'll have more time to sort of dive into it and look at it. And then tomorrow we'll maybe like do more diving in during the stream, because that's my guaranteed time. Esitsu, thank you also for joining, and we can all sort of take a look at it. So with that, once again, thank you very much. I'll be back tomorrow morning for probably looking at the air handling stuff. So Have a great rest of your days, and see you all next time. Oh, of course, my ending screen is broken. Here we go. Bye.